Hello, everyone.
Howdy, howdy.
Welcome. Welcome to the next episode of the Barren, episode 5. This episode is titled All for Love. Now, for the players, make sure that you unmute your tracks up in the top left corner so that you can hear the music if you would like to. We're leaving off right where we were. Basically, it was just after sundown. An Etin wandered by your camp, smelling, apparently, the smell of venison, which, by the way, whoever was processing the venison, I want to retcon how many rations you got. I think I drastically under-rationed the deer. Does anyone remember how many rations I gave it?
You gave it 4.
It should definitely get more than that. We're going to actually let's see. We're gonna 4x it. So we're gonna do 16 rations that you get from the deer. I was just thinking about that today, and I was like, I don't think I gave enough rations for the deer.
I was like, for a mule deer, that's pretty small, but okay.
Yes. Now, if you remember correctly, just a quick recap from last session, you had brought down the Etin, and it is basically laying in the middle of your camp right now. It did have a big fur pouch on its back, and in that pouch was a folded up humanoid wearing a suit of armor, and you saw the hilt of a sword sticking out of the top of the bag. Now, with that being said, we're going to jump right in. Omen actually went on a small mission. Actually, I'm going to read something that Mr. Vincent sent me. This is what you see Omen do right before the start of the session. Omen walks into the forest, stumbling in thought and gait. Voices begin within, his own voice lurching through moral dilemma, conclusions, and debate with himself and perhaps others. Tears running inside and out. He tries to focus on gathering materials, but these thoughts and the whispers of something else leading to point and counterpoint. Mentally unhinged and weird, he haphazardly begins to bury himself in underbrush and snow, cocooning in actuality and mentality. I am aware of the distinction. Leave me, mock me again, and I shall end both our worlds and thoughts. Once completed, the shelter created to his fragmented satisfaction, once it's completed, he begins to slumber, awash in fear, not from without, but with lies within. And with that being said, that's just a little outro for Omen, who seems to have departed for the next 2 sessions because he's going to be unavailable. And he will rejoin. Now, Soul comes back into camp. Soul, you had been scouting. Will you roll me a survival check?
Yeah. That is a 16.
A 16. Were you looking for anything in particular? Like if you were going to describe a primary and secondary goal of your scouting mission, what would it have been?
Primary would be anything that could be used to ignite stuff like flint and tinder, anything that I might be able to find that can create sparks, as well as in line with that, anything that seems like it could be a decent fuel source, just because we're going to need warmth, we're going to need light. That's very much like his key thing. Secondary, any signs of like life, civilization, anything that might stand out to like settlements or anything like that, like tracks, or signs of like habitation.
Now, here's a pretty important question I would have asked you. Which direction, because you've been gone at this point for about half a day, what direction would you have gone in? North, south, east, or west? West was kind of back where you guys came from. East
Right.
would have been further into the woods, and then obviously north and south. You do see mountains to the north. South, it just looks like flat land. What would you have? Which direction would you have gone?
If there's mountains to the north, I would probably head that way, just because I feel like while there could be decent settlements to the south, there might be better minerals towards the mountains.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, so scouting north by about half a day, you would have found a couple interesting things. Number one, you absolutely would have found some flint.
Awesome.
Quite a few deposits of flint. You could have gathered. You could have actually gathered 1d12s worth of, like, what I would call flint daggers, like pretty large chunks of flint.
Awesome.
So you could gather. So I'll actually go ahead and roll. I'm gonna roll d12. You would have been able to gather three significant pieces of flint that you would have found amongst the rocks. The country to the north is very much like the country you have been traveling in: cold, barren, seemingly lifeless. You would have seen some birds flying around that they had white wings, white feathers, but they had faces that looked a little bit like a mole's face, kind of. You would have seen small flocks of them. You see them kind of burrow under the snow, and then they kind of floof around, and then they pop up, and then they all kind of take off and fly, and then they land again, and then they go diving back into the snow. You've observed this quite a few times during your scouting mission. The birds are about the size of I would say about the size of a small chicken.
Huh.
You would have observed this several times. As far as tracks, you do actually come across a set of tracks that looks like a sled pulled by dogs leading to the north.
Okay. Like leading further into the mountains?
Yes, leading up north toward the mountains.
Okay.
And you would have found this about 3 miles north of the party's current location.
You said about 3 miles north?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, another thing that you see what looks like a large cat at one point, but you are not able to get a good glimpse of it. It was like in the woods. At one point, you were kind of near the woods, and you kind of spotted it moving between trees, and it looked like a saber-toothed tiger to you. But almost as soon as you saw it, it was gone. It seemed to be spooked away by you.
Okay.
Would you have wanted to hunt any of the birds that you saw?
I don't think I was in the best. I wasn't really in the best situation to be hunting.
Gotcha.
I gave my dagger to Luna.
Gotcha.
And while I do have some spells, well, you know what? Considering I don't have rations, probably would not have been a bad idea to try and snag one of them.
Yeah. So if one was the goal, you could have totally snagged one, using, I'm sure you have. Do you have any damage dealing cantrips?
Oh yeah, I got Sacred Flame and Word of Radiance. So
you could have,
Sacred Flame.
Yeah. In fact, if you wanted, you could roll with the result you got. You could roll a d6, and you could have gotten that many if you spent, a bit of time.
I got 3 of them.
Heck yeah. So you have a string of 3 of these pigeon-like birds that have seemingly like a mole's head and snout. And as you're handling them, they kind of seem like they have feathers on their body, but then their heads are kind of like there's a little fur on their heads. Kind of interesting. And they have whiskers. But you get 3 of them.
Awesome. Yes, I got 3 mole chickens.
And each of those chickens would be about the equivalent of 2 rations.
Oh shit. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll eat one of those. I'll use my breath weapon to kind of cook one of them up and get some food in my belly.
All right, very good, very good. So at that point, then you would have rounded around, made your way back, and using your survival skills, you would have been able to track down the camp of your party, and you would happen upon them. And when you do, from the north, you would pick up these large sets of tracks. They look like giant tracks, and they would have led right to your group. And then you see a large dead Etten laying on the ground, 2 heads. Big giant-like creature, and your compatriots around it. And we're going to say that Soul is walking in right after the Etten has gone down. So maybe as you got closer, you even heard a roar or 2 and maybe ran up just in time to see that they had brought it down. There's arrows sticking out of it. It's looking all scorched up.
Beautiful.
And with that, it's an open game. You guys see Soul walk up. And let's just call it an open game. What would you all like to do?
I know at first Valenti was just grabbing her arrows. She's always focused on her arrows.
Yes. Okay. So for the arrows, you should roll percentiles for me, and then basically, we're gonna see what percentage was able to remain undamaged during the fight.
Oh, God.
Uh-oh. How many arrows were used altogether?
I think I used 5.
So, unfortunately, she finds that 4 of them were damaged, and only 1 has remained intact to be useful again. It would be a faster matter to repair the damaged ones, though, than to build new ones. So just keep a note of that. Basically, if I say, if you're crafting arrows, and I would say, you crafted 3 arrows. If you have broken remnants of arrows, you should count like that as being able to make 2 arrows, right? So it's like instead of 1, because you already have raw materials for them, like the arrowheads and such.
Unless I have mending, and then I could be able to mend them together.
Oh, no, that's true. So if someone had mending, they could fix your arrows, and actually that would be super helpful.
Just
Hector was just about to do that.
Is Hector going to mend Valenti's arrows?
Yep. Hector sees Valenti struggling with the arrows and pulling them out, and they're broken. And he goes, "You know what? Your arrows are good. Let's fix them for you." And he casts mending.
Would you go ahead and work on all 4 arrows until they're mended?
Yep.
Okay. So you see Hector holding his hand above the arrows, and slowly, magically, the pieces begin to get put back together, perhaps even better than they were before. A little magically secured this time, and you are able to retrieve 5 arrows because of this.
Valenti will be very surprised and confused. She doesn't really know how to react with this, since she already had a image in her mind. Still suspectful, but she will look and say, "Thank you. I appreciate that."
I appreciate your arrows hitting the mark. So let's make sure you've got plenty of arrows so you can hit those marks.
And she's like, "Of course." And she'll nod, and then with a walk of confusion will head back to her spot and look back over her shoulder one last time at Hector, and not quite sure what to think of it. And she just heads back.
While this is going on, Feline would go up to the end, and she doesn't want the human or the sword. They just happen to be there. But she would start tugging on that bag because she really wants it.
So the bag that's holding all the stuff is quite large. It's
Mhm.
big. It would be like and it's made of. It looks like it's actually made of from the carcass of a large mule deer that was just sewn up. So it also stinks, and there's rotting meat on it. But when you kind of tug on it, that skeleton falls out of it onto the ground. And you see that it's not altogether a skeleton. It's more like a half frozen, half rotted corpse. And it is wearing armor. It's wearing chainmail, and it has a shield. And the shield is not emblazoned with anything. It's just actually just a steel shield. And then there's a long sword that kind of clatters to the ground as well. You see that this skeleton has a knife in its belt, but you also see that it's clutching something in its hand. Like its bony, half desiccated fingers are clutching something.
Well, she would definitely reach for the knife first, and as she does so, muttering to herself, like, "Oh, giants are disgusting," and
Yes,
very carefully taking the knife.
Hector's free hand shoots out and goes, "Don't touch. Let's make sure it's safe first."
Safe from what?
And he casts detect magic.
You cast detect magic, and there's only one thing in the whole pile that glows magical, and that is a small, seemingly cylindrical object that the skeleton has clutched in its hand.
Okay. Well, it looks like everything else is safe. Just don't pull out what's in his hand just yet. We'll need to identify that before we can have
That's
it.
fine. I just want this. You all take the rest.
Yep, take it.
Yeah, and she'll take the knife. And if the bag is like, even though it's gross, if it's something she could wear or carry herself, she would take that as well.
Yes, for sure. She could totally carry it. Wearing
Cool.
it would require some alteration, but she could totally at least carry things in it.
Cool.
Hector will secrete some of the bones into his component pouch.
Okay. The knife and the sword, the dagger and the sword seem to be sort of matching. They have pretty basic wooden handles, but they do look a little bit like they look a little bit fancy in the sense that they seem to have been designed as a pair. And as you start to look at them, they kind of match the shield too. It looks like the three things are kind of a pair. You would have seen this in like ancestral armor, like when families pass down armor and weapons. Sometimes they would get sets like this, or especially wealthy adventurers may be able to buy their equipment in sets or have it specially made or something like that.
Would we be able to tell what like species he was?
He looks humanoid, medium-sized. As for whether he is elf or human, you would need to roll a medicine check.
Yeah, I'd like to roll that, please.
Yes, go for it.
That's a nat 20 for a 23.
He is a human through and through.
Okay. As Feline takes the knife and all this, I mean, does he look like he was very like well prepared in terms of his gear for the weather up here?
So he does have the rotting remains of cold weather clothing on.
Okay.
But they've mostly been torn up and torn away. But yes, he
Gotcha.
was equipped. In fact, it kind of looks like he was a bit equipped for maybe like maybe adventuring or an expedition, or he's a little bit well equipped to be a guard or something like that. He seemed a little better equipped than that. Like, it actually looks like he was equipped as someone who was actually venturing out purposefully into the barren wilderness. No ranged weapon, though. No ranged weapon on him, and no evidence that he had one. There's no like empty quiver, which you would probably find a little strange. You know, now being out here, you're like, oh, it'd be useful to have a ranged weapon.
Yeah. I think she would look at him and she's like, I think it is odd to see a human like this up in such a place by themselves. I wonder what he was doing here.
Dying.
Yeah, quite literally, it's what he was doing.
Yes, just dying. I think it's quite obvious.
Well, you don't think he had
Thought he'd find
companions?
fame and fortune and run into an Eton and got smashed by a club. It's not that hard to work out. And he turns to Lotto and says, Bobby, you're big and strong. Can you pick up those clubs and use them?
Oh, are you talking to Lotto?
Yeah.
He's gonna like pick one up. Oh, and he kind of heaves it and he's like, this is quite large. I will carry it, but I will admit, I am more comfortable with my shoulder and my fists and my body than with a weapon like this. A weapon like this, I would have to cast down to lift someone and slam them to the ground.
Well, up to you. I just thought you might like a weapon.
Oh, thank you.
Then
Luna
looks over
is...
the giant and sees Sol.
Yeah, Sol
And-
comes running up.
Yeah.
Give it to Lizard Man.
Oh, look, a dragon.
That's not the dragon.
Yeah, so Soul crests like the ridge leading to the camp, kind of noticing the rest of the party there, and his immediate relief. His immediate relief is the fact that his gaze falls upon the massive lifeless form of the Eton sprawled out in the center of this small valley. And he slows down for a moment, taking this all in with just like quiet curiosity, watching the party mill about. And then starts to stride forward with a bit of a chuckle as he is lifting the birds that he caught by their feet, their like mole-like faces dangling. And he says, oh, what? I leave for half a day and you've already got on to slaying giants some more. What did this one do? Offend our hospitality?
It smells bad.
Well, I'm sure that they might feel the same about us. Is this a fire right over here?
Oh, yes, this right here is a fire. Yes, it's
Okay,
you see that it's kind of buried a little bit underground, so the smoke and the visibility of it is very, very minimized.
Gotcha. Then he will smile as he walks past everyone, and he'll kneel by the fire, placing the mole chickens down, and just kind of letting the warmth soak into his frozen hands. He flexes his fingers, feeling that like lingering cold from his time away, before he looks back at everyone with a content and confident smile and says, well, I'm glad that fortune has found you well. Lathander's light guided my path, as it always does. I found some sled tracks leading further into the mountains, about 3 miles, perhaps a little more to the north. They seem fresh. Something or someone is further up that way. I also crossed paths with some large feline, saber-tooth or crag cat, perhaps. I noted it for a moment, but it ran off. Luckily, it chose not to test my fate. A mercy, perhaps, given that I had little more than my own 2 hands. I feel, though, that we are Doing well. I was able to find some flint up there as well. We'll be able to use it to set fires where we need to and keep warm. So tell me, my friends, how were your travels this time?
Luna's going to walk up to you and give you kind of a hug. She's actually going to come up to you and kind of shyly give you a hug. And she's going to say, I have agreed not to use my magic anymore. She's going to kind of look over at Faylene and give a smile.
Oh, and why would you do that, little one? Your magic, you were able to heal a wound. It is a blessing. It's not something that should be hid away or ignored.
She kind of looks a little uncomfortable, and you kind of, Faylene, you kind of see her wringing her fingers a bit, kind of like she's not quite sure how to answer that. And
I kind of give Faylene a bit of a quizzical look as well.
Well, it was decided that until she can gain a little bit of trust with the rest of our companions, that for now this was the compromise.
She would nod. I want to be a part of this group. I don't want to get left behind. So I'm willing to do whatever it takes to earn trust. Ooh, nice. It's a fire.
Oh yeah, I have a few fire assets.
Heck yeah.
Little fire.
Oh, nice.
I look at her and I say, child, I would not leave you behind. Whatever gifts you may have, arcane, divine, primal, it is better to learn to control them, to understand them, to harness them for your own needs, rather than letting them control you or burying them away, letting them fester. What you are able to do with that magic, that is not something that you should be embarrassed, upset, or devoid of. Being able to heal and provide comfort to our allies is something that should be cherished, something that should be continued, practiced. But I understand if it is something that troubles you. I will not push the matter. I will allow you to move in the comfort that you feel. But if there is any practice, any explanation, understanding that I may be able to help you with, do not hesitate to ask. I am here to help you, as we are here to help one another.
As you barely get finished with that, and she just like throws her arms around you and hugs you really tightly, and you actually see a little tear come out of her eye. And she would say, she doesn't even actually say it out loud. You just see her mouth the words, "Thank you." And you sense great relief come from her.
Good. I'm glad. I'll pat her on the back and we'll tell her, yes, well, anytime that you need to talk, please feel free. But I think for right now, are any of you hungry?
Lotto raises his hand. I could definitely eat something.
Yes, I found these birds up north when I was scouting. They appear to have more like faces. They dive down into the snow and burrow through it and pop back up. They taste a bit heartier than a chicken, but they taste good otherwise. I feel if there are more, they might make some decent catches, as I was only able to grab these 3 with some of my divine magic. And I realize I hold up now like a small piece of rope that I like took from some of the clothing that I had, and realize that there's only 2 left because I already ate one.
Oh, nice. he would basically sit down and he'd be like, if you'd like, I'll prepare it for you.
Please.
He grabs it and he just starts plucking the feathers. I mean, he just goes right to it, like he has cleaned birds a million times.
Beautiful.
Feathers just flying in all directions. Now, keep in mind, everyone, you would see that while the dagger was taken from the skeletal corpse, there is still literally a suit of chainmail. There is a shield, a longsword, and something still clutched within his fingers. Hector and Faline were the two who saw that the closest.
Hector's looking at the equipment and trying to see if he can recognize the any markings on it or anything like that.
No, actually, there is
sort of indicate who he is.
No, there are actually no markings on any of the equipment. It doesn't look especially like fancy or anything. It's slightly fancy in the sense that it all matches, but not fancy enough to have a family crest or any kind of organizational marking on it.
Hector looks around, looks at the equipment, and goes, I don't know much about this stuff. I don't really need it. Sol, that's your name, isn't it? Sol?
Yes.
Yeah. Is any of this stuff any good for you? There's like a big sword and there's a chain shirt or chainmail here. I don't know much about it myself.
Yes, I am well versed in the art of swordsmanship. I used one of these when I was traveling with my group of paladins. At least something like this.
That must have been a boring trip.
No, it was quite enjoyable. We were able to share tales of our pasts, the adventures that they had gone on, and journeys that they had made, and people that they had saved. It is a beautiful moment of camaraderie between those of us that went on those journeys that I will never forget. And
I suppose we're all pompous windbags like yourself as well, though.
Wait, say that again. My mic cut
out. I suppose you're like the party was all just like you, pompous windbags.
Well,
you guys see Lotto do like a double take when Hector says that, like very surprised.
I would not say that. I am very grateful for the life that was given to me when the clerics of the Temple of First Light came upon me in my deepest moment of darkness. It is through their gracious hands that I survived, and it is through their teachings that I was given a second life. The ones that I traveled with, they were as wide and varied as we find ourselves. Some of the scouts, Farendel, Mikhail, and Terranatal, they were very quiet, reserved, would often spend days or weeks traveling the lands, learning the pathways, finding shortcuts, traps, anything that might aid us in our journeys. And myself, Desarius, Calibor, Milt Harrison, we were the ones that bared sword and shield, that stood proud against those that would bring evil and darkness and shadow to the world, and we defied them with light. Though some of us...
You do know that the light brings the shadows?
Yes. Through light, shadows exist, but...
Through life, there is death.
That is true.
Without life, there is no death. If there's no death, what point is life?
You guys see Luna very interestedly listening to this exchange. She's just like sitting at the fire, almost like a child hearing a scary story. She's just like enthralled by the conversation.
Yes. Two sides of the same coin, light and dark, life and death. one cannot exist without another. And it is in my heart that I believe that there is always a push and pull between the two of them. More light wanes the darkness, and more darkness wanes the light, but it is the light that has shown me truth, shown me Lathander's glory, guidance in my life. It was the darkness that was my near undoing. I understand that both have their purposes. I seek to undo the darkness that harms and hurts unnecessarily. Well, death must find us all one day. I wish to walk in the light of Lathander as long as I can.
Whilst Sol is talking, you see Hector's fingers fluttering around, and the shadows flow down his arms, across his hands, out his fingers, and he's got this big shadow extending from his hand, and he looks at Luna and goes, and just waves.
Luna's eyes kind of go wide as she watches. She's like, what are you doing? What is that?
Yes, I'm quite curious myself.
Just showing you that the shadows are not to be feared.
Luna's like, isn't death to be feared?
Why?
Why should death be feared?
She says, well, I mean, it's like the end, isn't it? You kind of see her tighten up the collar of her her winter coat as if the thought of death freaks her out.
If you live a good life, death has nothing. There's nothing to be afraid of. Death is just the end of life. It's that simple.
Roll a persuasion check real quick while you're telling me.
What have we got on persuasion now? Because I'm not using the helmet. The telepathy. Where's my rolling? Yeah. So 20 -2. Ooh, total of 3.
Okay. You kind of see her like stick her nose up, kind of like you get the sense that she isn't quite on board with that philosophy. She seems to still be pretty afraid of death.
At this point, Faylene is still working on the deer because I'm not sure how long it would take. But I think she would say something to the effect of, death is just, you see this deer. He is going to sustain us through his death. But in that way, he goes on. And so death is not really the end for anything. Death is just a way to provide new life.
Exactly.
Yes. Many fear death, young one. They see it as an end, a door that closes never to open again. I do not believe that is so. Death is not an enemy, nor is it the darkness that should dread. Think of the sun. It rises, brings warmth and life to this world, but it must also set, giving the land time to rest, to heal, to be renewed. Would you fear the sunset, knowing that the dawn would come again? Death is but the setting sun, a moment of rest before the soul finds its next path. It's not the end of the journey, only a change in the road. To fear it is to forget the sun always rises again.
At this point, her ears kind of perk up. She says, you mean death isn't the end? There's stuff that comes after death? And she's saying this legitimately, like that's a new concept for her. She's never heard this concept, it seems like.
There is a possibility that within the world that I came from, there is a realm beyond our own, where when you pass, your soul moves on to there and can change, alter, can grow and expand. We cannot yet experience that, as death has not found its embrace in us, but it is not something that should be feared.
You see that Lotto at this point has both of the chickens plucked, and he has set up like a rotisserie across the fire, and now he's spinning it.
Beautiful.
And he would say, he would kind of nod his head, and he was like, "We eat the chicken, we feed the worms, the soul departs."
Yes, exactly. How we choose to shine while we are here is what matters. To live with purpose, to bring light to others, to embrace one another and embrace the dawn. Death is not to be feared, not when we have the chance to live brilliantly before the sun sets.
You would see Lotto like nod his head. He seems to resonate with a lot of what you said. And then he says, "The only thing I wish for now is butter and salt, perhaps a little lemon."
Yes. Yes, my friend. Damn, now I want some chicken.
Celine would say, "Well, I cannot give you butter, but I do have some fat," and give him some like tallow to melt over the top of it from the deer.
He's gonna take it, and you see him expertly begin to tallow the chicken. I'm calling it chicken because that's the closest thing. It's like a mold.
That's fine.
She would also grab Hector and be like, "He said, so there is your mountain, my mountain, Mountain Zero, and now there's Mountain Death."
After death.
The mountains
mountain after death.
Are you referring to the mountains to the north?
No, these are different mountains. We cannot walk to them, Hector says.
I look at Hector confused.
Well, sometimes you have to dumb down things for people.
Did you traverse other mountains that we cannot reach?
Mountain? What are you talking about?
Well, the mountains to the north, where I saw the sled tracks, that we are able to get to them with a
sled tracks. What are you talking about? Sled tracks. Where are these people?
They're about 3 miles to the north, where I was scouting. They head into the mountains up there. That's what I thought you were referring to.
It was the same people we saw. That woman, she went north when she left.
And there's notes here in this this dead researcher's book about people from the north and the sled tracks. It could be a civilization of some description.
Then I might have seen where they are referring to.
Oh, this is very good news. Yeah, let's eat all these chickens now.
Yes, I will say that
be safe.
I am more than full. I had one. I cooked one up on my way here, so please enjoy amongst yourselves.
Lotto would divide up the portions and pass them out to everyone. And Valenthi, would your character... Lotto would kind of call up to you and be like, "Valenthi, the chicken is ready."
Valenthi would... she'd be working on more arrows, but she did eat one of the good berries, so she would be... she can't see through that angle, maybe, so... she would probably say, "I've eaten." Yell back, "I've eaten."
At that point, Lotto, you would hear the rocks kind of crumble as Lotto climbs up onto the ledge. And he comes up there and he says, "You have perhaps eaten, but you have not tasted my chicken." And he would set it down by you on a little slab of rock. Still sizzling a bit.
You know, that's a man proud of his skill.
Yeah, it's so cute.
And then he would say, "Berries are good, but the soul needs chicken."
No, I already had some. Thank you.
And then he's got... Oh, no. Oh. Sorry, he was talking to Valenthi.
Yeah.
And then he's going to walk on back, leaving the chicken there.
Miss Valenti just suspiciously looks at and and then goes back working to her arrows.
You should go ahead and roll a crafting check if she's going to spend some time on that.
Let's see. was 5.
So we have a.
So whilst that's, I was going to say, whilst the eating's going on.
24.
24.
Yep.
You should roll
whilst
a
the
d6.
eating's going on, Hector will investigate that little whatever's in the corpse's hand.
2.
But you rolled, what was it, a 24?
Yeah.
So you should make 4 arrows in the next, basically the next couple hours, basically. Hector, you're going to investigate the thing. So are you going to open up the skeleton's hand and pry it out?
With my makeshift walking stick.
So when you pry the hand out,
push the bottom of it so it opens the hand up.
When you open the hand, a small, when I say small, it's actually large for what it is. It's about the size of a golf ball, but a glass sphere with a little, looks like, kind of how like a marble has a little colorful thing on the inside. It looks kind of like that, but the colorful thing kind of eerily resembles an eyeball. It does not look like a real eyeball. It looks like it was designed to look like an eyeball. But so I'm going to call it a large marble, glass marble, rolls out of his hand into the snow.
And that's the magic item.
Yes, it is glowing magical.
Yeah.
And I can tell you what school too, because with detect magic, you could detect the school.
Yeah. If I've got something, no, I don't really have anything to pick it up with.
It glows with the divination school of magic.
Okay. Faylene, do you still have some of that material?
What kind?
Oh, I just need something to pick this up with. I don't want to touch it directly.
Yes, I have these, and she would actually give you a little bit of the deer hide that she's been working on.
Yep, perfect. Hector will drop it on the marble and wrap it up so he doesn't actually physically touch it, and put it in one of these pockets. I'm guessing the wizard's robe has lots of pockets.
Yes, it has. It has a total of 4 pockets. 6 pockets. It has 4 on the outside, 2 on the inside. So you're going to pick it up, you say? But you're not going to touch it. You're picking it up and just sliding it into your pocket. Okay.
Yep.
While this is going on, Soul has taken to putting on the chainmail.
As he's putting it on, you would have to pause here and there to remove bits of like frozen, desiccated flesh from it. Like there were a couple of times where apparently this person got mangled by a looks like a big blow with a club, and then there's flesh sticking to the armor in those spots. But
any of that I want to collect. Not to keep, but I want to set it aside. And as I finish donning the chainmail, and I have you said it was a long sword and a shield, right?
Yes, there's a long sword and a shield.
Okay. I want to set the whatever the bits are, and there was a skeleton under the Etten, I believe.
No, the chainmail was on a skeletal corpse.
Okay.
Yes. There was a skeleton wearing it. When I say skeleton, I mean you can see bones on about half of it, and on about half of it there's still rotting flesh. It looks like it's been dead for quite some time, being toted around by the Etten.
Okay. And so I want to, like, as I'm putting this on, I want to kind of collect everything, and put those, like, put that pile next to the sword and next to the shield, and if I can get like most of the skeletal remains, I want to like put them between the sword and shield and start saying a prayer with the lantern that I had etched with Lathander's symbol into it, setting it before this, allowing the light to shine upon it, and saying a prayer in honor of this one who has given us this gift, and something like, Morning Lord, bearer of light, before me lies one who walked a path before us, who bore these arms in life that I shall now bear. Though their body has faded to dust, their strength lingers still. A gift left for those who continue the fight. I do not take these arms in greed, nor in plunder, but in honor, so they may not rust in the forgotten dark, and instead shine once more beneath the sun. May this blade find justice, this armor stand as a shield for the weak, and the shield bear the light of the dawn once again. Rest now, weary one, in the embrace of the setting sun. And I'll turn the lantern down.
You hear Luna say, "That was beautiful."
Well, thank you, young one. It is only honorable to bless those who came before us that offer these gifts. It is something I must do in reverence, to show these are not trophies, but continuation of this warrior's purpose, legacy, to be carried.
She would say, "I guess whoever they were, they know what comes after death now." It's kind of weird to think about.
Yes. Those who have left this world to find another, to move beyond this plane of existence, and some who hope to find the warmth of Lathander's light in the realm of Celestia. Maybe one day I too shall venture there when my time has come. And with that, I will pick up the sword, pick up the shield, and just try and get a sense for them.
Yeah.
And while everybody else is kind of doing their thing, since it's been not long since I've been without weaponry, but just want to kind of get a feel for how these are. And after that, he is definitely going to use that one of those pieces of flint, or at least a stone around, to try and carve a sun into the shield.
Ah, yes. That would be pretty easy to find here. Perhaps a little work carving it, but yes, totally.
Sweet. All right.
What time is it?
So at this point, as far as like a time goes, it's a little unknown, but it's about 2 hours after sundown at this point, and that leads you to believe it might be close to maybe 9 o'clock, something like that. The sky is clear. There are 3 moons shining in the sky. There's a large yellow moon, kind of a slightly smaller bluish moon, and then kind of a much smaller reddish moon. And a sky full of stars.
Someone else.
The deer be finished processing by now?
Yes, you could say it's done by now for sure.
Okay. And then I don't know if you saw, but she was trying to get some other like useful bits off of it, like bones to turn into things, the hide, and I don't know if you wanted me to make rolls for any of that.
No, that could have been covered in your processing. And yes, all of that would have been totally doable.
Okay, perfect. She would lay out all the pieces then, like very respectfully and organized in the snow. And then she would take some of the pieces that would be good for like arrowheads, maybe some of the jaw areas, and then also sort of like gather the nasty remains in her arms and look to the group and say, if you have uses for these for weapons or for other purposes, you may take them. I will keep the antlers for myself, but the rest is for you. And then she would go up to Valanthe, actually. And as she approached, she would make herself known and say like a greeting in Elvish, when that Valanthe would know to mean something to the effects of like good evening, but in a very formal tone.
Vinlancy, concentrating on her arrows, would stop and do like a side eye, and then go back to working with her arrows.
Feline, while still holding the bundle, would take out the bone pieces, the jawbone that she brought up, and hold it out to Valanthe and say, "Look, you are very skilled with your craft. I thought you might like these for your arrows to make better arrowheads."
This is once again. She looks up confused and it's like, yes, I could use them.
Yes, the teeth, they're very sharp.
She'll hold out her hand and grab them and nods. I appreciate it. This will help us.
You do not have a mark. Do you not have a clan?
She'll look at her arrows and then look back up and it's like, no, elves don't usually have clans, not for at least a few thousand years. We have more cities, at least from what I heard from my, history.
So you are a city elf, then?
No, I don't stay in the cities. I stay away. I have a farm.
So you have no city, no clan, and you stay on a farm by yourself?
I have my animals, which I need to return to rather quickly.
What kind of animals?
She looks back and she's like, a friendly kind.
I too have an animal. I miss him very much. And then she'll walk off in this direction and find a place to dispose of all the very smelly, nasty, gory bits of the deer.
As she walks over there and disposes of it, she can see her breath, coming out of her mouth. It's very cold. Being away from the fire, she especially starts to realize how cold it is. Very frigidly cold. But
okay. Oh no, she'll while she's over here, she'll cast Druidcraft then to get a check on the weather with her weather sensor.
Oh yes. So when you cast it, do you want to describe what it looks like as you cast it at all?
Yeah, I think it looks like just like a little magic orb that sort of floats in her hand, and based on the weather, like the color of the orb, and then it sort of like generates a small amount of weather around it. That's how she can tell what the weather is going to be for the next day or so.
So you see that for the next 8 hours, clear sky, then clouds rolling in, and then intense snow and wind.
Cool. All right, she'll stay over here a minute, enjoying the alone time, burying the guts, make the magic disperse before she returns back to camp. And once she gets back to camp, she'll use her weaver's tools to try to modify this giant's bag so she can start using it better.
Okay, very good, very good.
Yeah.
Now, at this point, we at any point, if anyone wants to, you could say that we can fast track the rest of the evening, but I'm not trying to hurry you along. We could do that at any point, but anyone who has things that they would like to do, please feel free to go ahead and do them.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and take my trance rest because she has all her stuff used up against that last battle. So
Gotcha.
I guess 4 hours after she makes the arrows, and then I guess looks at the chicken that Lotto left there suspiciously, and but she will go ahead and go into a meditative trance and just start resting while everybody's doing whatever they're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, Hector's exhausted. He wants to lie down. So he's gone over close to Lotto and says, I think it's time, buddy. Shall we call it a night?
He's going to say, yes, calling it a night would be good. And then as he lays down, he kind of slaps his thigh and he's like, these glutes are tired.
I do not know what that means, but okay.
And then as he would lay down, he would kind of mumble, it's a workout joke. And then,
Okay.
I mean, almost instantly you hear, he just starts snoring.
My kind of man. Fall asleep in a heartbeat.
Yes, yes.
So Hector assumes his sleeping position as the little spoon of Lotto and throws his robe over the pair of them so they both keep warm during the night.
Hector is definitely twice as warm as anyone else. That's for sure.
Smart.
All right. So far, everyone but Faylene and Soul have described that they're going to bed or going into meditation. Luna is also going to basically make herself a little bed right by the fire and lay down.
Yeah. Soul will head over to the fire and will cast thaumaturgy on the fire to make it turn like a dim blue color, something that's like relaxing.
Okay.
And we'll settle in next to Luna.
As he settles in next to Luna, she would kind of scoot over and basically cuddle up next to him.
Yeah.
With a shiver, kind of like she's cold.
Yeah, I'll look down at her. I'll just put my arm around her and just use again thaumaturgy to sort of dim the fire but maintain the heat as I can as with that I can dim the fire just a hair.
As Soul is doing this, he sees the fire kind of reflecting in her eyes, and of course she has the one eye that is blue, and then she has that kind of off colorish kind of like a goldish eye, and it's just like kind of a stark, you see the reflection in her eyes, and she seems to be mesmerized by the fire a bit, and then she kind of just falls asleep. Her eyes close and she goes to sleep, seemingly very tired.
Good.
All right. Faylene, I think you're the last one standing.
Faylene would stay up for an hour or two working on this bag. If she got cold, she'd just pull off the, as gross as it is, she'd just wrap the hide of the deer she processed around her.
Okay.
But yeah, she wants to make this bag more functional, and she's not terribly tired right now.
She should roll a Tinker's toolkit check.
A Tinker's?
Yeah, is that what she
Weaver's?
Does?
She has Weaver's.
No, go ahead and roll the Weaver's tools.
Let's see.
It's a little bit off. It isn't quite the right set of tools. Leatherworking tools would be much better, but.
Oh, okay. I did get a 19.
Okay. No, you're making progress.
Cool.
It's just kind of tough. The leather's tough.
Yeah.
To push the needle through. The thread seems especially lightweight for this kind of work. Those kinds of things.
Okay.
Out of curiosity, who had the carpenter's tools, or who did somebody else get those after Hector gave him to somebody?
I'm not actually sure.
Omen took them. Or you had them.
Omen took them.
I think that it was either you or Omen that had them last.
We can.
I'm not sure
the
though.
Sheet. I will say that I've not been tracking people's inventories, but the sheet that Kelf made may have information on it.
The carpenter's tools.
Yeah, it looks like Hector is the last name in there for them.
Yeah, Hector had them, but I don't know who gave them to. I know Valenti wasn't around though to retrieve them because she was doing her own thing and she was staying away. But because that's her proficiency is carpenter tools.
Mm-hmm.
I think they ended up with Omen.
Yeah, I think so.
We'll see it in 2 sessions. Then after when he comes back. All right. I was just wondering.
Yeah, because it wasn't quite what he wanted, but I think he used them to make his bow and arrows that he had.
Yeah.
But anyway,
that's right.
Yeah, she would do that for a couple hours. It's slow, tedious work, especially with improper tools. And once her hands started cramping up, she would look at the fire, check it, seeing that they're all asleep. Use her control flames to make it a little bigger and maintain the heat throughout the night, and then take her rest as well.
So everybody's falling asleep then. Nobody's awake to keep watch.
Oh, so sorry. I do apologize. I meant to say Soul was gonna keep watch.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Never mind. She didn't do anything on the fire then. Is he still awake then a couple hours later?
Yeah, he would at least cover for the 4 hours just so he can at least get a long rest.
Yeah. I only need 4 hours and then I can take the rest of the 4 hours.
So Soul, your Soul needs a full night.
Oh wait, yeah. What am I thinking? I'm thinking of an elf. What the hell?
Yeah. You would miss out on your full rest if you stay awake for 4 hours.
Yeah, I would only be able to keep watch for 2.
Yeah, Filleen's only been up for 2 working on this bag. So I don't know. I think she'd look at him then and be like, do you need to sleep? Who is taking watch now?
Yes, somebody will have to take watch in my stead. I know you elves sleep much differently than I.
What are you talking about? No, we don't.
You only need a few hours compared to myself. And I remember from Therendel, he said something about when he rests, he sees and is able to interact with memories of his past. Something I presumed all elves are able to do. I apologize if my ignorance fails me.
I don't know. I just sleep like a person. I don't know what you mean.
Now, at that point, Luna would say, I'll keep watch for 2 hours.
All right, you can keep watch for 2 hours.
She's going to sit up and watch the fire. So the first 2 hours were Faylene, and it sounds like the second 2 hours will be Luna. Does that sound correct?
She'll stay over here. Yeah, that's fine.
All right. So, Faylene, you would drift off to sleep. If we've decided that Faylene does indeed sleep, is that what the conclusion has been? That because there was talk of whether she would trance or sleep.
She would trance, but she wouldn't know it.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So 2 hours later, Valenti, you're in trance too, right?
Yeah. So if they did 2 hours and then 2 hours later, I would wake up then.
Okay. Valenti, you would wake up 2 hours later to Luna basically kind of tapping on your shoulder and saying, "Hey, it's been about 2 hours. I think."
I slap her across the... No, he's kidding. No.
You think you could take watch so I could sleep now?
She opens one eye, looks up. He put you to watch.
I volunteered.
What a strange group. And she stands up and says, "Yes, I've gotten my rest. I can stay and watch."
Luna's going to say, "Okay." And she's going to kind of almost stumble back like she's pretty tired. And then she's going to go lay down and seems to go immediately to sleep.
Valentia will just sigh and grab her bows, sit at the edge of the rock, start drawing pictures of her farm, kind of reminiscing, missing her home that has been taken away for a second time now.
Yes.
Stuck with these strangers, and then she'll begin to pray to Morthil.
Roll a religion check.
Religion check. Okay. She's religious, but doesn't know very much religion. All right, let's see here. She does a 16.
Okay. So she's praying. What is she going to kind of say? Or is she just kind of communing and praying?
She pretty much is just thinking and then drawing, saying, "Morthil, you're the god of elves. I've never talked to you before, but I'm a bit lost here. I usually know what I'm doing now. Living alone for the past 70 years. I'm not much for knowing to be around people. And this group is very strange. I'm asking some guidance here. I don't know who to trust. I know how evil people can be, how tricky they can be. I don't know if I can trust any of these people. Perhaps the lizard. He seems strangely familiar to yourself." And she just looks up into the sky, into whatever moons are still out, and says, "Just some guidance. Nice. Yeah, alone. Something familiar." And then she'll just go back to trying to work on some arrows.
So as she kind of prays and she kind of looks back at the arrows, she hears what sounds like wind kind of pick up in the sky. She kind of hears wind blowing in the sky above her.
And she'll look up.
So she looks up and she sees the northern lights, the aurora borealis. They look pretty natural, and you guys have seen them every night you've been out here. But you see something kind of strange in the lights. You see what seems to be an image take shape. And it kind of crosses the sky. A great image of what looks to Valenti to be a bear. And it just seems to float across the sky as if, it's massive. The borealis is large, spanning the whole horizon. And right above her, she sees this massive image of this kind of bear seeming to move across the sky.
She'll start thinking, does this bear any resemblance toward the one that we saw before at the cave?
No, well, other than that, it's the shape of a bear. It doesn't seem to really resemble it very much. However, she does receive, there's a thought that pops into her mind. There's a little thought that pops into her mind, and the thought would be, let me think how it would be worded. You'll find me I'm trying to think of the best way that this would be explained. The words that actually come into your mind are, you'll find me in the wild.
She'll think about it, thinking that she's already in the wild. And just kind of think to herself about the ways of how gods work. And she will kind of nod to herself, keeping this I guess, whisper, and also going back and thinking about the idea where the falcon had seemed like an ally, but also had told them about the cave. Not combining them together or anything, but just kind of wondering
now,
all these words and whispers that she's been hearing lately.
As Valenthi's thinking about this, a particularly strong gust of wind blows over the ridge she's on, and she feels a strange calmness, and you get an inspiration point. And then you hear a crunch in the snow in front of you. And when you look down, you see what looks like a perfect bear print imprinted in the snow.
Oh. Are there other prints anywhere? Just that one?
No, you kind of look around. You see no other prints. Just the one, and it's right in front of you. You literally saw with your own eyes the snow like crunch. It crunched down right in front of you.
She will kind of feel in front of her.
No, you feel out, and by the time you're doing that, the wind is gone. And even if you glance up, you see that the aurora borealis has returned to normal, leaving you to think, did I really see a bear, or was that a trick of my mind? It's not there now. But when you look down into the snow, you do see that print is still there.
Would I feel anything familiar to my world?
Actually, no. This feels very different. It was not a bad feeling, but it felt very foreign and very kind of alien to her.
Huh. She will just sit confused. And it's like, I don't know. But I guess whatever it is, Morthiel or someone else, I don't feel trepidation from it. I will look for you, whoever you are.
Now, while this is going on, Hector, you're having a dream. You are dreaming. You are dreaming of a voice. And the voice, you hear echoes of a voice. Sounds like a human voice speaking common, saying, brother, don't worry, I'm coming. I just hope I'm not too late. And then you just feel cold, and then you hear the snow crunching beneath snowshoes. You hear some dogs barking, and then suddenly you hear a word of alarm, no, and then you look up and you see the Etten swinging its club, and then you see just darkness, and then you see a cave entrance. And then from within the cave entrance, you see two eyes open. They're glowing green, and you feel a beckoning to enter. And then you hear words that kind of cross your mind, strange words in a strange language say, your brother is here. I'm keeping him safe. And then you kind of startle awake. And you found it a little creepy Hector would have been a bit maybe like, he would have woke up with some goosebumps.
Does Valanthe notice this?
No. Well, she notices Hector jerk awake, but no, all this dream was in Hector's mind.
Oh, yeah. No, I was just wondering if yeah. So I saw him jerk awake. She lifts an eyebrow.
And Hector, as soon as you wake up, your thoughts immediately go to the marble in your pocket. It's like you wake up
so
thinking.
Hector wakes up and he punches Lotto, saying, "Don't wake me up."
You kind of punch him, and his whole body just kind of moves, but he keeps snoring.
And then with that urge he pulls out the marble, still wrapped in the deer skin, and just unfolds it so it's sitting on the deer skin, and he's looking at it intensely and trying to work out what it is without touching it directly. And he'd like to know the color of the marble.
So
is it the same as Luna's eyes?
No, it actually looks like the eye in the marble is a brown eye. It's actually the one color Luna doesn't have. With that being said, would it be fair to say Hector is focusing very intently on the marble?
Yep.
As he focuses intently, he sees.
Would he have caught the Borealis?
Yeah. Well, when he woke up, he would have probably been looking up, and he would have seen the green aurora borealis above them. It would look pretty normal, like it did the night before.
Yeah. So he would also dive into his pockets and pull out some of the instruments because of the flash of light. So have a look and see if they're going off.
He looks at the instruments, and they are reading a very low 0.04 in readings, which Hector has come to read as being very minimal, seemingly.
Yeah. And unless the eyeball is doing anything as he's looking at it,
yeah. If he focuses intently on it, he sees the eyeball change shape. It kind of turns into like smoke, and then he sees it reform into what looks like the face of a cliff and a cave entrance. It's very tiny, but it definitely responds to Hector looking at it.
And it's still nighttime?
It is, yes. Actually, you look up and it's still nighttime. There isn't dawn yet peeking over the horizon.
Okay. I tried to find if I had identified, but I don't. So, yep.
He's just kind of staring down, inspecting while this is going on.
He'll look around and see Valanthe sort of noticing him, and using his telepathy, he'll say to her, "What happened? Why did I wake up?" And it's just in your head.
She's kind of just looking down. It's like, in her mind, she's like, strange. And she'll look and whisper, says, "You jacked awake. I don't know why.
Okay.
Perhaps a nightmare or a dream."
Did the sky light up?
And she looks and says, "Yes. Well, no. It's shaped." What did he do? It just kind of disappeared and turned into a bear, right?
You looked up, and
Yeah.
the Aurora Borealis had formed itself into this massive image of a bear moving across the sky. But then, when you kind of look down at the paw print and stuff, when you look back up, it was just not there.
She'll just simply say, "Yeah, I just formed a bear."
A bear. There's notes here about bears. It's all connected somehow. And he'll show. Well, I don't know whether he'll make it up the cliff there to Valenti, but he'll pull out the diary and say, "Oh, look here." But he won't move. Like, he's just standing there with the book going, "Oh, look here. This looks like there's some sort of shape-shifting bear going on around the place." And then you got that bear with a statue thing before. Oh, yeah, this is all connected somehow.
Valenti just lifts an eyebrow as he's going through this and says, nods, just simply says, "Yes."
And Hector will turn back to the fire and just start making a couple of notes in his own little books. Like in the margins and things like that.
Valenti will then kind of look over toward the lizard men. She's heard of their kind before in her world, but never really seen one. Just kind of thinking to her mind, maybe questions. But other than that, she'll just kind of study Hector as he's doing whatever for the rest of the night. And keep watch.
As time passes, slowly an orange glow begins to appear in the east. The stars begin to vanish as a grand dawn dawns upon the forest. Hector and Valenti. Hector, are you staying awake for the remainder, or are you going to go back to sleep?
Hector would probably go back to sleep.
Oh, okay. So
finished making his notes.
Then, Valenti, you would kind of witness this by yourself. One thing about the sunrises here in this barren wilderness is that they are incredibly beautiful. But anyway, as the sun begins to rise, what are you going to do?
I will. She will make it down and. How has can I in my internal clock, would I know that they got enough rest, like a good full rest, like 8 hours or 6 hours that they need?
Yeah, at this point, everyone would have had a full rest. Yes.
I will walk over to Soul, and I will kneel down and gently do like a kind of like a just gently shaking awake.
You hear him muttering to himself as he snores, just this light of the thunder, breaking dawn. And he will jostle awake and say, "Yes, oh, it is dawn."
Valenti's face is just staring down at him and says, "It is morning. Can I have a word with you?"
Of course. I appreciate you waking me up. I wish to take in the morning.
And she'll, as he starts talking, she'll just walk over to this spot over here.
Okay. Yeah, I will follow.
When Soul leaves, Luna would kind of stir a little bit, but then she just goes back to sleep. She doesn't wake up yet.
What can I help you with?
And she'll say, "What kind of person are you?"
I don't know if I understand the question.
she'll say, I don't know who to trust here, but you're the one that comes closest to what I feel was my god, Morthil, god of elves, god of the forests. So far, I've been greeted with aggression and anger, and some strange person who wished to commit suicide by being clad by giants. And you seem the most normal here. Well, I've been tricked before. I know how people are. They may be good in the light, but when the shadow comes, their true character shows.
I do agree. It is something that I've been wondering myself with this group. I am so used to spending my time in the presence of fellow Lathendarians and clerics and paladins that I must say I am a bit off guard in my own respect, but I tend to trust first and give everyone the benefit of the doubt.
That is quite dangerous. Trust must be earned. I learned this from a very young age.
Yes, I understand that perspective. In my youth, I had the same. When I was but a hatchling and was part of the scale trade, trust was not a thing that was even a concept in my mind. Everything and everyone was a fear to be had, a darkness to hide from. Many of us Dragonborn clung to one another for any semblance of community, compassion.
I never had a community.
I am sorry for that.
Even after my parents died, when no one was watching, they turned different. They beat me when I was a child, again and again, and there wasn't just one village. So I lived by myself for the past decades. That's why I cannot trust. But I am willing to help the group. But yet every time I help, it seems that the same histories wants to repeat. It seems that they get angry. So, you seem to be the most calm. I can try to lead us, or I can leave. But if I try to gain us a better survivability, I could rely on you, at least to lead the group. And I'll lead them through these terrains the best I can. I won't leave them, though I'm not sure if they would leave me.
Well, I definitely think your skills, what it is you are able to offer, your eyes, your knowledge of terrain, it is not something we can easily forego. I have no ill thought or no reason to doubt your trust, your character.
Then I will rely on you to lead them and handle their aggression. I will try my best to at least get us somewhere I do not know this world, but I will try my best to get us to safety.
And
With that, you will. Oh, go ahead.
He smiles and he says, and he kind of like looks out over, the rest of the party, and so and kind of like eyes lingering more on the player characters like Omen, Faline, and Hector, and say, and I will try and do what. Oh, is Omen not there?
Oh, he's not.
He took off scouting or on a personal journey for 2 sessions.
Oh, that's right. I'm so sorry. Sorry. And so yeah, I'll look towards like Faline and Hector, and like my mind will wander to Omen, and I say, and I will do what I can to hopefully shine a light in the darkness that they find themselves in, allow them that guidance to step into the light, to be more trusting, to be more open. We find ourselves in a situation that we are all foreign to, and keeping things to ourselves and locking away ourselves to one another will do us no benefit. So I will try and brace their aggression against you as I follow your keen senses.
And she would move forward and just look over her shoulder. She nods at you and says, I do believe everybody's had rest. And then she'll go back to her nestled spot.
All right. And with the fact that it is dawn, Soul is going to set up a small spot where he can say his morning prayers to Lathander.
As this is going on, you guys see Luna stir and sit up and look around. And then when she sees Soul, she seems to kind of get a little more relaxed. And then she stands up and stretches. And then the sun would probably wake up the rest of you. Like Faline and Hector you guys would likely wake up. The sun would wake you up quite early. Lotta would also stir. He would sit up with a big, much better sleeping by a fire.
Hector wakes up and immediately yells, "It's too bright!" and pulls his robe over his head to shelter his eyes again.
Feline takes this once again as an invitation to go, no, look, it's so pretty. Look at the way that the sunlight and the sunrays glint across the snow and comes up through the tree peaks. It's so beautiful up here.
Anyway, so what would you guys like to do next?
First of all, well, she is going to be doing something. She's going to try to. Is this the highest that she can get?
In this area, that is the highest point.
Okay. Could I try to climb a tree?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this tree right here is pretty tall.
All right. Well, then she's going to go ahead and attempt to climb that then.
Yeah. Go ahead and roll just an acrobatics check, just to make sure, or an athletics check actually, just to make sure she doesn't fall down.
Probably acrobatics because that's her best.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
So that's an 18.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, she scurries to the top of the tree, no problem.
Before she does any kind of casting, does she see any kind of animals about?
Not right offhand. No. The only things that are moving seem to be the group right now.
Okay.
And some stray dog.
Yeah, some stray dog somewhere.
In the back
She's
of her
going to
mind.
go ahead and cast Elevated Sight again.
Okay.
And so that's, once again, it's 120 feet above me at
Gotcha.
from that tree.
Gives her a really good look around, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what she picks up. To the south, there's the forest line stretches pretty much straight north and south with a few minor deviations, but for the most part, it's pretty straight north and south. She sees that back where they came from, I mean, there's the ground to the west. It's just open, rocky, frozen landscape. Nothing else really to see. To the north, you see large mountains looming in the distance, large black stretching into the sky. She does detect the faint sight of what seems to be smoke rising from a spot maybe about 1.5 miles north, but it's amidst the trees. South, she sees tree line and frozen wilderness. I mean, just to the end of her vision. She can't see. And the frozen wilderness seems to get real flat as it goes south. And then to the east, she sees more forest. The forest stretches on for several miles. She sees that it gets a little hillier and the forest starts to kind of go up and down a bit. And then it just keeps going on until she loses the sight in the mist of the distance. But let me think if there's anything else. Let me double check one more thing.
Are there any black rocks?
That's everything. There's a lot of black rock to the west and the north, but not so visible to the east or to the south.
Well then, let's see. Was that it? Oh, and you said you were looking for something else, or was that it?
Oh, I checked. No, that's everything you see. Yep.
Okay.
The most notable immediate thing that you see is that you think you see what might be campfire smoke about 1.5 miles north. If it is, it's a pretty big campfire, but it's hard to tell from here whether it's smoke or whether it might be just slightly off-colored mist.
Okay. Well, then she'll climb back down the tree, doing whatever everybody else is doing, and make her way toward Soul. And she will pretty much impart this entire knowledge to him. And she would want to go to the east because of the tree line, but at the same time, with this smoke, trying to figure out if there's any other beings about, would be her second choice. And that's what she would say to Soul, is like, we could investigate this smoke, or I'm very partial to the forest. We could travel east. I'm not sure what the mountains are, but I know that there in the journal was something about a white dragon and possibly giants. I don't know how far their territory lingers.
Out of curiosity, those sled tracks that I saw earlier, did they seem like they were sleds that would have been sized for humans or sized for giants?
No, they were medium-sized.
Okay.
With plenty of dog tracks, actually.
Okay. I'll look at Valente and say, well, the tracks that I saw further north, they seem to be human, at least not giant, for what it is worth. I'm not sure whatever dangers or creatures might be lurking in those mountains. Obviously, it is a bit more of a dangerous situation. But I do believe there is settlements up that way, at least, possibly hunting grounds, that we might find others who can aid us.
And she says, I agree. Well then, I shall lead us there, to the smoke.
And
As you guys are discussing this, Luna would walk up to you, Hector, and she would say, Hector, that marble, that glass thing you found, do you know what it is? You were looking at it. I saw you put it in your pocket last night, but you never said anything about it. She seems really curious about it.
It's a marble. I'm not sure what it does yet, but I think it can foretell the future. Or it's connected to someone. I think it's connected to someone, and I want to find out who that is.
I have a spell that would help me to figure it out, but
what spell is that?
She says, I can tell what items do if they're magical, but I told Faylene I wouldn't use my magic. We would have to get her permission if I were going to do that.
Hector immediately pulls out the deer skin-wrapped marble and opens it up and holds it out in front of her. Well, what can you tell me?
Well, she kind of like looks down nervously, and you see a curiosity, just like she just wants so badly to like pick it up and mess with it. But then she would kind of look over at you, Faylene, which she would be having this conversation right in front of you. I mean, if you were there.
Faylene would. Oh, gosh. As a player, I want to know so badly what the marble is, but Faylene would just be like, can we just give it like a day? Like, at least.
Luna looks back over at the marble, and then she looks up at you, Hector, and she says, I'm sorry, I can't. I'm going to listen to Faylene. She's right. I need to stop. I need to stop using this magic.
Why?
Otherwise, I'll never be free.
What are you talking about? Magic. It's part of you. Just embrace it. Deal with it.
Yeah, but I get it from someone. I get it from someone.
It's not hers. That's why.
My magic comes from death. Are you going to tell me to stop using it?
Luna raises an eyebrow, looks over at Faylene. As in, like, Faylene, you can just see on her face she's saying, without saying, he has a point. Like, that's what she's saying. You can tell she wants really badly to use her magic to see what this is. And then she's even going to say, Faylene, listen. She's going to, like, run over to you and, like, kneel down on the ground, like, slide across the snow to you. And she's going to say, listen, just one more time. And then I could be done. But I could tell Hector exactly what this does. And this would be me helping. I could be useful here.
Death is a force of nature. What is your goddess, if not that?
She kind of like messes with her fingers a little bit, and she's like, she is, let's just say she's a guardian of secrets. Let's just put it that way. People who are looking
secrets
for
don't make friends.
She looks at you pleadingly, as if she has no more argument to make, but is hoping you'll change your mind.
Just one day. You can do it without one day. You have so much more to give than just what this goddess gives to you if you will slow down and just find it.
She just kind of falls down into the snow in kind of a gesture of like defeat. And then she would stand up and say, Hector, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Faylene's right. If I want to stop being watched by this person, I need to stop using her magic. She seems to be telling herself that. Convincing herself of it seems to be another thing. And she walks off. She walks over here. She like goes and takes off.
Does she seem like she would be receptive if Faylene followed her?
Yeah, she's not like running away. She just seems to be like walking as if like a pacing, like she's going to pace.
Feline would turn to Hector and say, like, there's always another way to figure it out. Leave her alone. You're smarter than that. You do it. You've told us enough times. And then follow Feline. Or Luna, sorry.
Okay.
And
Hector just
she
shrugs and puts the marble away, and turns to the Etten, and lays his hands on the Etten, and shadows come flying out of his fingers as the whole Etten is covered in shadow. He stands up a minute later and walks away, and the Etten is covered in flowers.
Beautiful.
Aww.
There, you smelly lump of crap. At least you won't offend anyone now.
Lotto would be watching this and he'd be like, "Oh, beautiful. A masterpiece here in the frozen wasteland."
Then
he packs his stuff up.
I smile and look at Hector and put my hand on his shoulder and say, "Life does truly come from death."
Yes. Was that your big revelation, was it?
No. I am just happy that we are able to appreciate each other's arts. And I will cast bright sparks to put some light above these flowers to kind of help them blossom and grow.
As the light shines forth, Hector goes, What are you doing to me? And he pulls down his hood even further so you can barely see his face at all.
Do not hide from the light, my friend. I pat you on the back with a hearty laugh. And
I'm just not used to light. I much prefer the shadows.
Hopefully in time, I may help you come to appreciate it more.
So at this point, Valenti, are you leading the way north?
Yeah, I'm going to lead to the smoke, I think.
Are you going to stay in the woods, or are you going to take the group out of the woods a bit?
I would try to stay in the woods, but I guess in 2024 they don't have the that feature.
No favorite terrain.
Yeah, favorite terrain.
Yeah.
I was just looking at that, and I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here?
In that case, just make a survival check to try to find your way.
Oh, goodness. All right. Survive.
And if someone wants to give you a help action, they can.
Oh, I will cast guidance.
Oh, okay. So you could get guidance.
Yeah, that'll be an extra D4.
Just because my rolls on here are always...
Hector walked up.
So 17 plus...
Oh, okay. I won't need to.
17, and I guess that would be 18 altogether.
Oh, yeah. So you're pretty confident that you know the direction of where the smoke is. And you guys begin marching.
Yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and go through the forest then, because I'm more familiar with that, at least from the background, in order to, if anything happens, I can try to have cover.
Okay. Very good. So you're moving along the forest, and basically, so you guys go through a lot of like evergreen forest. The trees are tall, rocks are tall. The landscape stays very similar to this. It doesn't really change as you move, but let's say that you travel. You're going to travel like a half a day, and then you would reach the area whereabouts you figured the smoke had come from. Now, we're just gonna use this. We're gonna keep using this map because it's very similar terrain. But basically, you come into a spot, and there's kind of you do see evidence of a fire kind of in the center of that spot. And you guys see all around are dog and sled tracks. And you see that there's some blood nearby. And in fact, let me make a little mark here. Can I do this? Yeah. Kind of right over here. Oh, wait a minute. Can I do this? Yeah. Nope, it's giving me blue. Well, in this area right here, very near the fire, you see what looks like a bunch of blood. And it almost looks like there was an animal or animals skinned here. And then the tracks go further north.
I will hold my hand up, signaling to Soul to halt the party as I'm going to try to go forward and use my stealth to kind of check out things just in case.
You see that whoever was here, you probably have not missed them by very long. There's still smoke coming up from the embers of the fire.
Okay. I will signal to Soul that they're toward the north, not by far.
I will put my hand up and look back at the others and say, believe Valente wants us to wait here.
And I want to, I don't know if I can, but I want to try to move as quickly as I can with my stealth. So I don't know if that would be like you said these are sleds, right?
Yeah, they look like dog sled tracks.
Let me see, do I even have that? And there's no other animals around here?
You don't see anything. Actually, you haven't seen any animals. The forest has been eerily quiet and eerily devoid of activity.
About how many minutes ago do you think would she be able to tell?
She figures maybe 30 minutes.
Oh, 30 minutes, okay. On dog sleds. That's pretty good. All right, in that case, then.
All the sled marks, she figures that there were actually 2 sleds. And they seem to be going north, single file.
Single file. All right. Well, then in that case, if there's nothing else here that I can, nothing else that I find.
You do find, underneath this tree over here, you find what look like some animal droppings. Look like dog poop.
I'll be like, in that case, I will go ahead and just wave everybody over to move forward to the north. Then, and then I'll move back towards Seoul and tell them it seems to have about 30 minutes ago.
Can you say you're moving further north?
Yeah. Well, I'm moving towards Seoul first.
Gotcha. Okay.
And tell them this.
So, a half an hour, you say?
And she nods.
Well, then we should be able to catch up if we make haste.
And she says, I do believe we can, but we will have to run for the next 30 minutes against dogs. And then she'll nod either way and start moving toward the north.
Okay. So
Would this converse, sorry, be like audible to everybody?
That depends on how close I guess Soul is.
Yeah, I mean, Soul is not one for wanting to keep secrets and keep information hidden. So he would definitely be in a position where he would want the others to know.
Yeah, I guess I'm just asking because it's like, do we as a party know then that we're looking for these people at this point? Like, would that be something we discussed before we left camp?
Yeah, that's something I would give the information to Soul now.
Yeah, so it's Soul's sort of decision, I guess, whether or not we know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
If
Valencia is talking to me. I'll go back to the others and say, Valencia believes that they are about a half an hour ahead of us. If we make haste, we should be able to keep up with the dogs that are moving there.
And what is our intent with these people? Is it trade and information?
I believe right now any information of these lands, finding some form of semi-permanent shelter, a reasonable food supply, or any kind of information about where we are is a priority.
I agree. This weather is going to turn worse later today, so we need to find shelter. But also, we should be aware that people may not be very happy that we are intruding upon their hunting grounds.
That is true. And I am willing to bear the shield should they find aggression in their hearts. And I sort of like clutch the sword that I have fashioned to my hip.
Very well, lead on.
And I'll just kind of give like a short whistle over to Valente to kind of give her the notice that we're gonna be that I informed them.
She'll nod and just start leading as quickly as she can, though. She'll look over to her shoulders to see if Hector is able to keep up.
Feline always goes in the back, so she'll be by Hector.
Valencia will look over her shoulders as she's leading quite quickly, but see if Hector can keep up.
Hector won't be able to keep up. He's only on half speed at the moment. He's only had his leg for, 2 days? He's not very quick on it.
So, Valente, you would see that Hector is moving, about half the speed of everyone else.
Valente really wants to see if she can see if these creatures are friendly or not. She'll go back to Soul and I'll scout out ahead. I can track you. Let me see if they're friendly or not.
Yes, if you give me a signal of some kind, if you are in need of assistance.
Let me see. My elevated sight is. She'll say, I'll figure something out. And then she'll start rushing toward the... She'll run as fast as she can. I don't know how far with her constitution.
I'm going to change the scene real quick as she runs.
Yeah. She'll try to keep as stealthy as she can as well.
And as she disappears up the trail, in her head, she hears Hector. Don't go too far. I'm a bit slower than you, but I can help.
So I'm going to put all the player characters just down here just for storage for the moment. You guys are a bit behind, but Valente, you're running up ahead, and you kind of come up to a new kind of space here, and you see a couple things. So you come to what seems to be like a fork in a path. You see that all of the tracks lead to the left and basically kind of continue to go north. But you see that there's this path that obviously veers off through the woods, and there's actually kind of a nice path going through the woods. And you see that the path that goes north is kind of obstructed in some ways by rocks. The tracks are going around the rocks. It seems to be a very kind of like makeshift wild worn path. The path to the west seems to be interesting. The trees have grown into like an archway over that path, and you see almost a complete absence of rocks. And you look at it, it's like, whoa, that is interesting to see in this wild place. Like, you just see a strange path going over there. Another thing you see down that path is you see a spear, like it looks like a primitive spear stuck into the ground, and you see that there are 3 humanoid skulls hanging by twine from the spear, and you they look very old, and they're just hanging from the spear. And anyway, so that's what you see from here. And that spear and that path, that spear is like right over here, and the path is just going off into this direction, and the tracks are going this direction.
And you said the ones that are going through the spears, that's the nice path, or the other?
The path going this way is actually a very nice path. It has trees, like they've grown naturally, it seems like, into archways over the path. And it looks to be very little in terms of rocks, and there's no brush or even like fallen logs over that path. This path looks a little rough and rocky, but that's where the trail leads. Like that's where the dog sleds went.
Okay. I'm going to mark the ground so they know I'm following the path, and rush toward the path. Noting, of course, that the very nice trail there. But I will go ahead and follow the path and run as quickly as I can.
So you're going to run north following the dog sled path?
Correct.
Okay. So you run. If Valenti runs hard, going her full speed, is that kind of what speed she's going to go at?
Yeah.
Okay, so she would actually. So if she does that, she would actually come upon. Here, give me one. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and use this map, because this is actually. We're going to pretend for a minute that Valenti has kind of run past this area.
Okay.
And she gets to a point where she's running, and this takes her maybe 15, 20 minutes. She would get to a point where she hears barking dogs up ahead. And she would hear these whistling sounds and these like clicking sounds. And they sound kind of like vocalizations giving dogs orders, and dogs are barking, and you hear the moving of sleds. And if you look through the trees, you can kind of see the sleds up in front of you.
And do I see the humanoids?
You do see humanoids driving the sleds, and they're dressed very similarly to that orc girl that you found, that you met. With that being said, at this point, you hear what sounds like a shriek in the sky above you. Would you?
I look up.
You look up and you see that you're being circled by what looks like a hawk. And then, almost seemingly out of nowhere, stepping out from the woods to the side of the path.
Yeah, you do have dogs.
My dogs are providing the ambiance for you.
Stepping out of the woods ahead of you. Stepping out of the woods ahead of you, you recognize that orc female, and she like steps out onto the path.
And
she's looking at you.
Whoa. Okay. I will wave in a peaceful manner.
She's gonna come running up to you, and she's going to kind of slide to a stop, and then she's going to remove her mask, revealing the same, light blue eyes, white skin, long braided hair. But she looks really frantic, and she says a bunch of things. She just speaks really quickly to you.
I immediately cast Speak with Animals on the falcon.
Okay. The falcon overhead, you hear it, basically it's shrieking, danger, danger.
And Valanthi will say, I do not understand what she's saying. Am I in danger? Who's in danger?
The hawk is going to say, she's afraid for you. And then the hawk flies down and lands on her shoulder. And she would say, her people, the big one, if they find you, danger.
And she's like, she'll start trying to hide into the woods. And
she would hide with you. And then she would kind of look back behind her as if to see if she sees anyone. And then she would turn and like say a bunch of words to you really quickly, like you would understand them.
When she like Valanthi just nods like and shrugs, and she will try talking in Sylvan, Giant, and Dwarvish to see if any of those connect.
So when she speaks in Giant, suddenly she sees the orc girl's eyes go kind of wide. And then she would speak in very broken Giant. And she would say, you speak this, bad tongue of killers.
Valanthi will say, yes, giants murdered my parents when I was very young. So they became my enemy. I learned everything I could of them so that I could hunt them and know their weaknesses.
She would say, brother, she points over her shoulder, find you. And then she like punches her fist with her other hand and she says, bad for you.
And she nods. They do not like outsiders.
She would shake her head. And then she would kind of reach down with her like big, actually she would take off her big gloves, revealing like, humanoid, white-skinned orc hands. And she would actually take Valenthi's hands and she would say, you from the south. And then she'd point up, from the sky.
Valanthi will point, different world. And like move her hands, like not knowing, this is not my world. I'm not from here. I want to go home.
You would hear this like shrill whistle just like shoot through the woods, and this girl would like look back at you, and she would kind of look like she's in a hurry, and then she would say, you leave trail, brother will find this south end of our hunting ground. Our village is north. Very risky. Brother might kill you. You are not like us. You are like Southlanders. My brother kills on sight Southlanders. Sends the whole tribe, all the hunters.
Why do they hate each other?
Southlanders come here to destroy land, kill, take what is not theirs.
And Valanthi points to her ears. Elves do this.
She would nod. Elves are the worst.
She's like, in our world, elves were killed by, I suppose. And she like quiets down. We are lost. We are not from this world. We are not Southerners. We may look like them, but we are not from here. We don't have ill content toward your people. We just want to know where to go to survive.
She's going to kneel down And she's going to draw a little shape in the snow. And she's going to draw what Valenti thinks is the wood line. And then she's going to draw what looks like a mountain. And then she's going to say, where the wood line meets the southernmost foothill lies our village. Come if you dare, but with great caution. My brother will be very loath to accept you. And then she will grab Valenti's hands again, and then she would reach into her coat, kind of like her coat, and she would pull out this necklace. And then dangling from it is like a little. So she has a bunch of bone necklaces, but then there's this very fancy looking like metallic amulet that she's wearing. And when she holds it down, you would basically see what looks like these two geometric signals, or two geometric symbols, like crossed over one another. They kind of look like basically two octagons, and then they have a whole bunch of little geometric symbols on the inside, like a bunch of lines and circles. And she would pull it out, and she would say, "Them. I met them. They were kind to me. This is why I don't fear." She yanks it off her neck and puts it in your hands. She's like, "I'm different, not like my brother." She's like, "I know we need help." She's like, "The giants and the woman, they're pushing us out."
Who is this woman?
She's the Dark Queen of the Barrens. She's the one who controls the West. She serves a very dark presence here. I cannot talk about her. Not here.
And she nods. And she says, "What is the other path that has spears, skulls? Looks very nice."
Legends say it leads to a hot spring cave, but it's forbidden by my people. It's an old Fey ground. We do not go where the Fey live.
Fae.
The Fey do not like our kind. I do not know what's there. I've never been.
And she'll nod. And are there any other people that live here besides yours?
There are villages along the mountains. There's a fort to the south, a fort of Southlanders. You might be safer there. She kind of looks a little uncomfortable, but I hope you don't go that way.
Danger.
She says, "You might be safer there, but I hope you don't go that way. We need help." She says, "My people." And then she kind of makes a motion across her throat. She's like, "Dying, being hunted down by giants. We lose."
She nods. Let me go return to my people before they run into your people. And
she nods. Yes. She quickly puts her mask back on, and then she would take off another necklace. This one has bone on it, and she would kind of walk up to Valenti, and if Valenti would let her, she would put it over her over her neck. And you see that there's a little bone talisman. It looks like a moon. It's just very simple bone with a moon carved in it. And then she would turn it over, and you would see some little runes carved in it. And then she would say, "Maybe if you meet my kind, this might protect you." She says, tell them you're Kerrigan's friend. And then before you know it, she would just turn and bolt, running off.
Valenti will do the same.
Okay.
And she will do that as stealthy as possible. so
Okay.
not to leave tracks,
Very good. Very good.
and rush back to the group.
Now, while Valenti was gone, would the group like to have done anything, or do you just want to kind of hang out and then have Valenti return?
Soul is just Soul will just be there, on guard, sword in hand, making sure that nothing is coming our way.
Very good. Very good.
How far would we have travelled? Are we
So if you
inside of that
traveled,
pathway?
if you've actually traveled for about half a day, it's about noon.
Oh, no. Like on this map, can we see the spears and the Feywild?
Oh yes, no, you would have gotten that far if you kept moving forward and
Yep.
following Valenti's trail. Yeah, you would have. Let's say that's where you guys meet
Hector
up.
Hector would be very keen to look at that and
Yeah,
try and work out why
you
the
would-
path is so clear.
Yeah, you would totally see that right over here, basically. Actually, I'm gonna put a token.
Yeah.
And then Valenti would meet you guys there. That's actually a really good spot where you would be able to meet up with Valenti. Let's put this right here. Shabam.
Valanthi would definitely walk up to Soul, and without repeating everything, she would explain all this to him. Well, Valanthi's also kind of staring over at. Faylene is the only other elf here, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Valanthi will look over at Faylene, and then she'll look over at Soul after explaining this, and then she'll say, "Are we certain that everyone is not from this world in this group?"
I am.
Is this a private conversation between you three?
Or between Soul and Valanthi, yeah, because
Okay.
she still, she knows that people came from worlds. She kind of doesn't trust Luna.
Yeah.
She's the only other elf, and now upon hearing this, she's trying to be just careful that everybody was from a different world. So she's just asking Soul if, since he's been with the group, if he would be sure that after telling him about the orcs and being attacked by elves and such.
Unfortunately, I cannot say with any degree of certainty more than your own. I'm not able to determine the truths by words alone. I can only have faith that they are not deceiving us.
And she says,
Don't your people that follow these gods have some sort of power to do that?
Yes, clerics of Lathander are able to gain the wisdom of Lathander to see the truths of individuals through a divine ritual. Unfortunately, I am unable to perform such a miracle.
Valanthi will pace a little bit, and she'll say,
This puts us.
as she looks at the fork,
This puts us at a fork in the road. They say there are Fae. We may perhaps find friends with Fae, depending what they are. Or we can try to help these orcs and try to gain friends in this world, or they can kill us if the brothers or just start trusting of us and doesn't believe us. Or if we have an elf that might be actually from this world, but I don't know.
I believe we are in a situation where we may be able to gain immediate allies if we are able to prove ourselves to these individuals.
And she'll say, I'm not good with people. People tend to hate me. However, you seem to have a knack for it. And I will allow you to speak, but I will also aid you in this since I've made an ally with them, if you wish. My only other one would be to travel this road, but it's unknown.
I think it will benefit us to make allies with the ones around here. Just because we are, if we are sorry, let me rephrase that.
I deleted myself.
Oh no!
Oh no! Sorry.
What the instruments? There's another convert.
What happened?
I accidentally deleted my token.
Oh, here.
She went back to her world. Hey.
Good for her.
She made it.
Thank you.
There we go.
I will I will say, if we are able to help them and gain them as allies, then we are in a far better situation than we are now. If we choose to let them remain our enemies, then we may struggle in the future finding our place amongst this world.
And she looks over at you and kind of thinking about those last words. It's like,
I do not want to find a place in this world. I have to return home. I have my last. Well,
And
I have to help my aunt.
she doesn't know quite how to speak, but she'll say,
Very well. Then my choice was to try to befriend them as well. But I also know that the group may be put in danger. I don't have concerns about myself, but this is a group that's also lost. So if you wish to go there, we can. I will let you take me lead as far as conversation.
yes, I agree it is to our benefit to try and make allies with the ones up here. It serves us no better if we do not.
Hector returns from the spear and the heads and walks up to Sol and says, "What's your experience of the Fae?"
I have had many encounters with.
So you know they're mischievous and they're despicable and they're probably worse than the shadows. I'd say we do not go down that path. That is a Feywild path. That is not the way to go.
He's referring to going to the south, right?
He's referring to the path that goes west that has the spear with the skulls hanging from it.
Oh. Gotcha.
Yep.
Which direction is the orcs?
North.
North. Okay.
Basically, they told Valenti, follow the tree line north until you get to the first foothill, and you'll find their village.
Okay. With Hector's warning, I will nod in agreement and say, most of my encounters with the Fae have luckily been positive, but I know the stories and I know their tendencies of trickery. And if that is what is down that path, then I feel that we are better off avoiding it as well. I will trust your judgment.
Luna's going to speak up and say, I think the Fae that are down this path are not the worst Fae.
They're all the worst.
She's going to say, maybe, but I have been having dreams. I've been seeing symbols of crystals. When I look at the symbol, and she kind of like picks at the skull symbol, she's going to say, oh, the skulls have symbols on them, carved into them. And if you guys get close, you would see. But they look like oak leaves with an eyeball in the middle. She would say, I have a feeling that this eyeball would be a crystal if it was really bad. Because I've been getting those visions from my deity. I think that's a symbol we should stay away from, like crystals. So at least it's not that. She kind of shrugs her shoulders.
And Hector goes, So your deity does speak to you?
She says, I had dreams last night. And then she just kind of looks down and looks away. And then she walks away from the skulls.
So, would Valanthe try to associate anything like this with the Fae? Because she was thinking about this in her mind, in a sense. Look for her or look for me in the wild.
Oh, so she sees really no. I mean, there's no obvious association between what she saw and these things that she sees right here. In fact, she did not get really a Fae vibe from that experience. Whereas here, she's kind of getting, I mean, being an elf, I would say she kind of sees this whole situation. She sees this path, and it kind of has Fae written all over it, actually. I think Valenthe and Faeline would also kind of get the sense of that, you two being the most Fae adjacent creatures here.
And she would probably associate these skulls more with some warning from the orcs.
It does look like that. Yeah, they look like, and in fact, there's symbols carved into them that look like oak leaves with an eye in them. And this is actually interesting because even in Valenthe's, well, I actually don't know about Valenthe's world, but what symbols like other races use to like warn each other about Fae. But this is a relatively universal symbol, kind of like, be careful, don't go past here. There is Fae stuff going on past here. It does look like it was probably placed here by the orcs.
Okay.
And the eye symbol, for those of you who would know much about like Fae, I mean, it would be pretty easy to ascertain that kind of means like a mischievous brand of Fae, like not the good benevolent kind, but like the mischievous trickery kind.
Okay.
Yeah. Faeline would say something to the effect of these little spirits down the path do not seem worth dealing with if someone has left a cairn here to warn travelers.
Valanthe will be studying them as well, and then after studying, she'll turn to lead the group north, and then she'll look over at Faeline and says,
"What do you think about orcs?"
Nonchalantly.
Orcs? I don't know much about them, to be honest. I have nothing against an orc, though. I've actually always been very curious to see their lands.
And she says,
I suppose you're seeing some of them now, at least for this world. Where do the orcs in your world reside?
On my mountain, they do not reside nearby. They reside in a place that I hear is covered with many, many mushrooms.
Valanthe will raise a brow.
Lotto would walk by and you'd hear him say, mushrooms, good with noodles, good with hot sauce.
I hear they are very big mushrooms, very, very large.
As he walks away, you would kind of hear him say, even better.
Valanthe's like,
strange indeed.
And then she'll just start walking north.
Hector says, where are you going?
To Valanthe?
Valanthe, yeah.
And Valanthe will look over to Sol.
We are heading north to where the orcs are
Why?
to aid them.
Luna's eyes would go
Aiden?
wide. That is a very bad idea. No,
Why?
you
Yes.
should not do that.
Do not go to orcs. Let's go south. Didn't you say there was something south?
There is.
What did you say, Valenti? You said something was on the south?
What did I put down for south again?
It was like the
fortress.
enemies.
So you saw
Yeah.
nothing,
people
but
of the south
the
are the
orc
ones that-
lady told you that there was a fort far to the south that contained like south, like people from the south, like Southlanders, she called them.
Yeah, those are the ones that we would probably be more safe with. But
Then
the
why not
orcs
go there?
are dying.
I think a bigger settlement would have more people that could help work this out. Obviously, those orcs are still here, so they haven't worked out how to get away. So let's go to this southern land and see what's down there and
The
pick the brains of those people.
The Lanthy, when
I
she
don't
was
think orcs
talking,
can help us.
when she was talking to them, she got the idea that the elves were down there, right? In that fort, they're her kind were the ones that are attacking the orcs.
Yeah.
She called elves Southlanders, and she said there were Southlanders in the fort. She didn't directly say there were elves in the fort, but she did allude to it by like a second degree.
She said elves are the worst, right?
She did. She said elves are the
Yeah.
worst Southlanders.
Yeah, Valancy would probably associate that with her world. Yeah, Valancy would have a conflict of interest there as well, but at the same time, she also understands differences and seeing that their skin is not green in her eyes.
Now, at this point, it is past 10. I would say feel free to like have this conversation and to find a good like exit zone. I don't want to cut it super short, but I'm just letting everyone know that I'm kind of I'm ready to wind it down as soon as you guys are done talking. We'll call this the final scene of the evening.
Valancy then will go ahead and walk over to both Hector and Sol and say,
I've had my run-ins with orcs in my world. Giants, humans, and orcs destroyed my life. And we are in constant war, at least the elves are. However, I can also discern the difference between this world and mine. You two decide.
My world
what
is
you want to
very
do.
different. My world is very different. It's all shadows and darkness. And the orcs live underground. And if they come up, it is death.
Where I
Do
come
not
from,
engage with the orcs.
orcs, well, can have violent tendencies. They live among civilized society. It is not uncommon for orcs to be intermingled with any other species in cities and towns.
Valancy will
My
say,
orcs are just conquest. They just want everything.
Well,
Then-
this is a different world. I will allow you to decide amongst each other, and then I can lead.
Well then, if you will give me the minute. I believe that Hector has a point. And while I do believe that it is within my heart to go to these orcs and aid them in their strife, I feel that Hector might be right in us heading south towards a larger settlement where we
No.
might better equip ourselves.
I will not go.
You will not travel south.
No.
Why not?
I don't want to go to a village.
And what troubles you?
Either way, we're going to a village.
Not I think not the kind you mean. Not a big one.
To the north, I believe we will find a small settlement. To the south, I believe we will find a larger one. There would be more resources to the south. It would better equip us if we aim to aid these orcs.
There are plenty of resources out here in the wild woods. We don't need to go there.
Oh, I don't know if this is relevant, but Valenthi, you would have seen in your look of the roundabout. It's likely that the orc village is much closer than the fort she was talking about, for what it's worth.
Valenthi will say, yes, the fort is farther. The orc village is closer, but we could die there if they do not accept us. I understand that they may need help, but then I've been tricked before.
Well, I believe that... Well, I understand your concern, Faline. I feel that we must pick a direction, and if you will give me the minute, I will seek Lathander's guidance, call upon his wisdom, and will see if the path to the south will provide us with danger. And with that, I will kind of move my way just to the south, and I'm gonna kneel upon the ground and take the shield that I got and place it in front of me, into the snow. And then I'm gonna take my lantern and place it right in front of it and kind of bow before it. And for this minute, I'm going to cast the augury spell, which I got with my divinely favored feat. And we'll say, Lathander, bringer of dawn, hear my call. The path before us is clouded in uncertainty, shrouded in the unknown. We stand upon the threshold of choice, yet I do not seek my own wisdom but yours. Let your light pierce the veil of fate. Let it shine upon the road ahead, that I may see not with my eyes but with my faith. Through this lantern, blessed in your name, let the flames grow, reveal what awaits beyond this trail. If we walk towards ruin, let shadows darken the steel. If we step towards salvation, let the light remain pure. I do not ask for certainty, nor demand answers beyond my right to know. I ask only for guidance, so that I may lead my companions true. In the name of the dawn that follows every night, I place my faith in you. And I will exhale a small flame to light the lantern.
Okay, so you're casting augury, basically looking for weal or woe.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
with that being said, which direction are you basically
in my mind? It is going south, because we kind of already know that going north to the orcs, there is going to be the potential. There's going to be more immediate potential for woe, considering they're going to be probably initially hostile, initially untrusting, and it's going to be something that we're going to have to fend off. But to the south, we don't really know anything. Yeah. So being that we're going to a fort of some kind, I just don't know if we're going to be walking into something that is, if they, hate elves or don't trust anybody, I would imagine it would be woe.
Gotcha. Okay. So when you cast this, basically you were looking for weal, your shield would stay true. Woe, it would darken.
Yes.
Is that basically okay? So when you cast this, so here's what happens. You see the shield start to darken, and then it kind of begins to, the darkness kind of like dissipates, which Soul would take to be a weal and woe. And then another thing happens. Suddenly, you guys hear laughter echo, and then you feel your connection to your god just abruptly just like severed.
Okay.
And then you all hear a voice kind of call out, but the voice is in common, a very clean common. And then it says, "That's the thing. None of you are going anywhere when I get you." And then all of you see a flicker, and a figure appears right over here, almost in like a flash of snow. And it looks like this. It's just for a moment. And this is just like, it's not that big. I'm just giving you an up close look. And then it just appears. And actually, Faylene, this looks, you recognize this. You've seen this before. You saw a vision of this in the woods, if you remember.
I was gonna say that
She has a long
sapling lady.
A long flowing dress. There's like frost coming off of her. You see long blue fingernails, and then you see these just like deep eyes. And then she like laughs. She has pointed ears like a fae. And then almost as soon as she appears, she just vanishes. And then everything goes back to normal.
Soul immediately grabs his sword, leaving the lantern and the shield where they are, and just runs towards it, just shouting, "Begone, foul beast of the shadows!"
So when you get over there, I mean, you look around, you don't see anything, and then you all hear just a little whisper come in the breeze, and then it says, "Soon, soon." And then there's like a laugh. And then that is where we are going to end the session.
Oh my God, what a way to end.
Great ending.
It seems once again, Soul, that your magic has prompted some response. Your
they don't take too kindly to Lathander.
It does. It would seem they do not, or someone does not.
I will. But before we wrap up, I will go and retrieve my lantern and my shield, and I will explain that through the blessing of Lathander's sight, that while to the north we are almost guaranteed to find strife, to the south there is hope in the unknown. And I'll look at Faylene and I will say, you do not have to go into the settlement with us, but I do not think that it is smart for us to split up.
And that is before you give your answer, Faylene, that's where we're going to end it.
Yeah.
We will save your answer.
I was just going to say, Hector's telepathy kicks in and he backs up what Sol has just said to Faylene.
She'll think about it.
In her brain.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you, players, for an awesome game. Lots of awesome role play this game. For everyone watching, if you want to play awesome games with awesome people like us, join the Discord. And we will see you next Tuesday. Have a good one.
Bye, everybody.